So, got my kayak last night. Really excited. Don't have my preferred vest yet, but it's getting there. Getting ready to get into the water for the first time ever, really. Pretty excited. So, wanted to bring you guys along for the ride. So I got an Ascend sit on top kayak 12t from Bass Pro Shop. It's supposed to hold 350 pounds. My big old boy, so that's why I went with it. So we'll see how it goes. Alright, so once I got started, there was just a slight setback. I was testing to see if I could go without my, what are they called, those scupper plugs, because maybe this is how it's supposed to be, but my kayak only came with 5 plugs and it has 6 holes. I read that they're for draining your kayak when water gets in them from paddling, so that makes sense as to why maybe one would be missing. But the back behind me had quite a bit of water in it, so I turned around and I emptied it real quick and plugged up the 2 in the back and the 2 under my seat because my butt was getting wet, and now it seems to be working pretty well. So I've been out here for probably a couple hours now. Seen a little bit of wildlife. There was a big great blue heron that flew over top of the lake here, and I seen a snake. I believe it was a northern water snake. Snatched a few lures out of trees and come across a few lines tied to trees, which I assume are for fishermen trying to catch catfish because they had some big old hooks on them. I assume these bubbles in the water, I don't know if you can see them or not, are probably snapping turtles because they stop whenever my kayak gets near them. It's been a lot of fun so far though. Pretty hot. Forgot sunscreen, which I knew that was going to be bad whenever I got started, that I forgot my hat and my sunscreen and my sunglasses. Luckily, the glare off the water's not been too bad for my eyes, and my life jacket covers the back of my neck. My arms are starting to get a little pink, but not too bad. But I guess just got to remember in the future, those are some essentials. So I guess I can do a review on this kayak. It may not be the greatest review because it's my first kayak ever, but I'm a big old guy. I weigh about, last time I weighed myself, it was about 288. And this kayak is rated to up to 350. And I've not had any problem with sinking, other than possibly that first little bit without those plugs. But that being said, you know, maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe the water would have just got into that back reservoir back there. There's not reservoir, but compartment. And it's not inside the boat. It's just a divot in the boat to lay your stuff with some bungee cords. But you know, maybe it wouldn't have sank because it's the way it's made, you know. Maybe it would have just held water and that would have been the end of it. The bars here on the left hand side where you put your paddle. You know, they hold it pretty good here. My only concern is that it comes back out pretty easily, so might want to bungee strap that down. I've seen bungee straps on the side of kayaks before, and you know, maybe that works better. I don't know. Again, this is my first kayak. I like the color, the camo. I guess it's a woodland camo. It's pretty cool. All they had besides this was lime green, but they also have a titanium. I believe they have one other. I want to say desert camo, but this and lime green were all they had in stock. Seems to have pretty good storage. I've got my fly rod up front there with my accessories in the bag there. Behind me, I've got a full-size tackle box for a regular fishing pole. The two rod holders behind me, I have rods in each of them right now. They're not dragging in the water or anything. I just have them sitting in there. So those are pretty nice. Here in front of me, I think that this is a cup holder, perhaps. Not entirely sure. Could be for maybe keeping minnows in or something as well. Maybe just heard my phone vibrate. That underneath the bag is a storage area, and it locks. You'll see here. You turn this sideways, and then it'll pull up. But it's sealed all around the edge with some kind of a rubber. So it should be airtight, I would think. As I mentioned earlier, it came with 5 plugs. 5 scudder plugs, or whatever they're called. It's got these rails on the side for extra attachments. It has 2 handle holds, the one up front that you can see, and the one in the back of the boat is perpendicular to this one, so I would call that one vertical and the one behind me horizontal from where I'm sitting. The seat's pretty comfortable. I've been on the water here for, I don't know, a couple hours now, 2.5 maybe, and I mean, it's comfortable, I suppose. I hear that that's an issue with a lot of kayaks, is the seats aren't very comfortable, and I've read reviews online that say that this is a fairly comfortable seat, so I'm not sure what I'm missing. You know, that would be awful, I guess, to sit into something that would be worse than this. It's a pretty big boat. So this paddle that I have, I'm not sure how long it is now looking at it. I don't see any measurements on it other than the fish measurements. Let's see, if it goes to 40, it's probably 65, 70, something like that. I feel like maybe it's too short to maneuver very easily. Now I'm having to go way up in the air, and I don't feel like that's normal. It may be, but it doesn't feel right to me. That being said, getting a heavier one, because it's longer, might be more difficult to use out here. I've not got a ton of water in this thing from splashing my oars, or whatever you want to call this thing. My legs are wet, but that's okay. That feels pretty good out here in this sunshine. So, I guess that's about all I have to say. I paid $599 plus tax for this kayak at Bass Pro Shop. It was on sale for $50 off. It was, I think it was, let me think, about $150 cheaper than the 128T, the 12-foot 8-inch kayak that's got the yak power. But I don't see me needing yak power. That's why I sacrificed and got this one. I was originally going to get the 128T, but I figured, you know, saving $150 to get something I'm not necessarily going to need power on, because I need to keep my phone locked up anyways. And surely 8 inches isn't going to make a huge difference, because 12 foot's a pretty big kayak. You know, I know the longer they are, the more stable they are, but surely 12's pretty good. I will say at first I had some difficulty getting into the kayak without tipping it over, and even when I turned around to fix the plugs, I had trouble getting out. About flipped the whole thing. So I definitely don't have my water legs, my kayak legs, whatever you want to call it. So if you guys have any suggestions on how to further my balance in this thing, because there's no way I'm going to attempt to stand up in this thing yet. They said online that you can fish out of this thing standing up, but there's no way unless I start off standing up and just use it as a paddleboard or whatever it's called. So let me know if you have any tips on how to get in and out of this thing a little more stably. There's a blue heron over there on that log. Let's see how close we can get to it. There he goes. Well, I'm turning around now. I didn't go all the way to the South Fork Dam. I come to a fork there, and rather than exploring much more, I went ahead and turned around. Because anytime you're out in the wilderness, even if you know where you're at, like, you know, I know that I'm on Pound Lake, but anytime you're out in the wilderness and you don't know exactly where you are, it's always a good idea to turn around before you get yourself more lost, if you're able to follow the way that you come back in. I've got my fishing poles dragging behind me now. We'll see if maybe I'll get a bite. Not really confident that I will, but you know, who knows.